here. Thank you. And why is that? Because this bench is not designed for your comfort. It might be designed for your convenience, but don't be fooled. It's constructed in a way that is not going to invite any sort of long range benefit to you. And in fact, after a while, you might be sore. What we're trying to point out, folks, this is probably your best option isn't this bench. Neither are opioids. And that's the message that we're trying to get across to you today, that opioid use has grown so tremendously across the country, but specifically in Franklin Township and specifically in New Jersey, where we're dealing with it. And we have a panel here today. I'm going to start with our acting director, Wendy White, acting director of Park and Recreation in Franklin Township, how this project came to be to Franklin Township and who the active participants were to make this happen so that you can be informed. What is an opioid? Why is it not always your best option? What may be other options for you? Wendy.
PJ, hi. How are you? Thank you for the opportunity. Having this bench here today is very important to Franklin Township. As you mentioned, opioid use is something that when you turn on the TV, you hear a lot about. But I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about it. What is an opioid? What do I need to be concerned about? How do I make sure it's not happening in my home? So having this wonderful team of people come together, Donna, Paige, and Councilman Karazi, we joined together as a group, and they came to us and said, hey, is Parks and Rec interested in being a part of the display of this bench that has been, I think, throughout New Jersey, in a number of different communities? And we said, absolutely, because there's a QR code on the bench that allows you to scan it to get more details about opioid use, resources, and these wonderful partners that have much more information to tell you about the bench, the project, and how it all came together.
No, and we certainly appreciate that. We appreciate your constant directorship in Park and Recreation, Wendy. I know you've got a very full plate right now.
We do.
So yes.
We do. But this is something that's very important. Recreation is great. It's great to have fun, but awareness and prevention is most important so that you can have fun. So that's why we're glad to be a part of this project.
Okay. And we, again, appreciate that you brought this out. So, next, if you would introduce our next guest.
We have the wonderful Donna Lisi, who is our subject matter expert, and she can tell you all about opioid usage and other things that are related to this project.
Okay. Yes. Great. Thank you so much, Wendy. I'm going to slide over here, if that's okay. Donna, tell us about the rest of the story.
Yes, we're facing as a nation an opiate epidemic, and my work, not only in Franklin Township, but also at the county level. I'm chair of the Local Advisory Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse, as well as being chair of the Franklin Township Board of Health Advisory Council. This is something that came to my mind, and when I had the good fortune of interacting with Paige Ewing, who you'll speak to next, the opportunity to have this bench come here was a grand idea for Franklin. We've been dealing with this opiate epidemic, and to define what an opioid is, it's a pain medication that binds to certain receptors in the brain called mu receptors. So an example of an opiate is something like oxycodone, something like heroin, something like methadone and morphine. Those are all different examples of opioids. And what initially this problem started back in the 90s, when pain became a fifth vital sign, and more people were in tune, and doctors were being pressured to prescribe more and more opioids to relieve pain. And there was an unrealistic expectation that pain would be completely relieved. And so now we've pulled back from that expectation. And now the goal is for pain management is that function is all important. As long as you're functional and being able to do the things that are most important to you, that really should be the goal for pain management. So one of the things that's so important is to kind of reset that mind frame of what we expect in pain management, and to also point to the fact that there are a lot more medications, and opioids are not always the best choice. If you have someone who has cancer pain, if you have someone who may have major surgery, yes, there are times when they're appropriate. But for someone who has a toothache or had a dental extraction, someone who has lower back pain, there are many more options that we have, and not all of them are pharmacological. So not all of them involve drug therapy. There are many great services like physical therapy, acupuncture, massage, all these different things. And there are also over-the-counter medications. And so knowing how to use those wisely, I will be here on April 30th speaking to the Senior Center group at 1 o'clock and going over some of the pain management strategies. And another important thing that I want to stress is that if you are on opioids and if you are taking one of these medications, it's really essential to have naloxone present in your home and have someone who's trained on how to administer it, because accidents happen. You know, a lot of times people are reluctant to have naloxone. They say, "Oh, I don't have an opiate problem," but you know what? It's like carrying an umbrella. You really don't want to use it. You're hoping that it doesn't rain, but having it in the house in the event that there is a problem, you might have a drug interaction that now potentiated the effects of the opioid. You might have that glass of wine to celebrate a family event, and that could have pushed you over the edge. So there can be a whole host of things, as well as changes that take place in aging, or differences in renal function and things like that that can affect the disposition of medications and can make you more disposed. So having naloxone, every home, and I really feel like every home in this country should have that, whether it's for someone who's using an opioid or even someone on the street that you can save their life. That's so important.
Can you mention that antidote again? What is the name of it? Because I wouldn't know how to spell it.
Sure. The generic name is called naloxone, and the one that people are most probably familiar with is Narcan. And in fact, there is a program that's funded by the state called Naloxone 365, that if there are pharmacies throughout the state that provide free naloxone to anyone age 14 and older at these participating pharmacies. It's anonymous. They would just have to go in and say that they would like to have some naloxone, and they would be handed that for free. So that's another great program that the state is doing. We need to have more participation in that and get the word out more about that program as well.
One of the things that I'm hoping we're going to also touch on, it's not necessarily only for those who are in a pain condition. There has been so much addiction that's gone on that the misuse of the drug for recreational purposes has also mushroomed out of control. And I don't know if this program is designed to be dealing with that, but this is not just to alleviate pain, or maybe it's alleviating other kinds of pain. But the broadness of these opioids in the communities is often irrelevant to an actual pain necessity.
Well, we know now that, initially there was a misconception that was perpetrated by pharma in many respects, that if someone has real pain, that they would not get addicted. And we know that that's false. That's a fallacy. Whether or not someone has real pain, no one is protected from getting addicted. And so that was a driving force, the increased number of prescriptions early on. Right now, though, the number of prescriptions of opioids have really been severely curtailed. We have a limit on how much a first-time order of prescription opioids can be given. There is heightened awareness in our medical community to not prescribe these things. In fact, the pendulum in some cases have actually swung the other way, so that folks who actually need them, people who with cancer, people with sickle cell disease, who actually would need these things, are sometimes finding that they're not having already access to this. So that's an important thing. But when they were prescribed indiscriminately, we got a lot of people who got addicted to this. And then when the legitimate supply dried up, they turned to heroin. And then heroin got tainted with fentanyl. And then fentanyl drove the deaths. And now we're seeing what born out of Philadelphia, and it's now here in New Jersey, is that most of the samples that we're testing have xylazine in it too. So xylazine is another compound and can be associated with severe skin wounds and people losing limbs and all. So, there is a massive illicit drug market out there, and the people at the other end of this just keep getting more and more creative, and we don't even have laws in place that can be written fast enough to try to block all these things before the next one pops up. So that's part of the problem as well.
I think the other part of it, and that's where all of you are coming in, is the education.
Absolutely.
About what are these drugs, why are they appropriate, for whom are they appropriate, for whom are they absolutely, totally inappropriate, and what are the alternatives? Because it's without that education, we know people are susceptible to their peers, to the media, to music videos that, oh, wow, that sounds like a great idea, and I will appreciate whatever my recreation is that much more if I And I think the education factor is just so important. And it sounds like, I know you're going to be here, you said on April 30th?
Yes, yes.
And will you be addressing some of this?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's all part of the discussion that I will be having with them. And another focus has been with young athletes, and making sure that opioids are not prescribed for injuries when they're not appropriate, and then also dentists. A child has a tooth pull. There are other things that can be used other than opioids. You really want to, especially in the young people, try to avoid exposure as much as possible, and delay any type of exposure to opioids as well as to alcohol, because the developing brain is still not fully formed, and you could adding these substances in there can affect the wiring too of the brain. So that's another important point to bring home. So it's not only the seniors; it's across the age spectrum.
Absolutely. And it's very important that the parents are educated, because their kids are not necessarily going to ask the questions of the parents. The parents need to impart the information so the kids have an awareness before they're even exposed to the opportunities. So I know Paige Ewing is involved with Safe Communities Coalition. Do you want to introduce her and how you got involved with her?
Yes, Paige is a wonderful resource, and so is Safe Communities Coalition and New Jersey Prevention. As part of my involvement with LACADA, I've been involved with a number of stakeholders, and Paige described having this bench that would help drive home the point of how opioids are not a good choice, and I thought this was a fantastic opportunity. Paige, coordinated with Paige and Councilman Karazi to bring that here. And so I'll let Paige describe how this bench came out to being and the information that's in the QR code.
Well, it's not only a symbol, but Paige created this bench. She did this all by herself. Paige Ewing, tell us about Safe Communities Coalition and the impact of this bench.
Sure. So I'm with an agency called Prevention Resources, and our agency manages the Safe Communities Coalition of both Hunterdon and Somerset counties. And so really our regional coalition, we are aimed at reducing drug and alcohol misuse among our youth, our adults, our seniors, all throughout those two counties. So we always talk about what are different ways that we can engage people. You give presentations, you give programs, you hand out rack cards, but after a while, people stop listening. And so we thought, let's create a physical design change, something really eye-catching to get people to start having these conversations with their doctors. When a doctor, they come in, they say, oh, I have back pain. Can you just give me something? Maybe let's change that conversation, and how can I actually go to the root of the problem and treat this pain? And so we came up with this beautiful bench idea. Myself and my coworkers, we spent a beautiful sunny afternoon building them. So we currently have 2 benches that travel around the central region of the state and are being hosted by so many wonderful municipalities like Franklin Township. And really, we are just encouraging people to, when they have pain, going to their doctors and saying, what can I do to really treat it? Opioids absolutely have a time and a place, and we want to make sure that that is there. It is a part of the toolbox. But a lot of the times, opioids can mask the pain and not really treat the true problem. And so that's where things like acupuncture and chiropractic and physical therapy and so many other wonderful modalities, even things like Tylenol, Advil, and heat and ice are great alternatives that people can utilize to treat that pain. And even when it goes that step further, when they're in a chronic pain, there are other surgical modalities such as nerve blocks that can be used that, again, are non-addictive. And that's really what we're encouraging people to talk about, those non-addictive modalities, so that they can actually treat their pain and not suffer the consequences of something like a long-term effect of an opioid.
I'm so happy that you introduced the idea of acupuncture and chiropractic. And that's basically body heal thyself. The body is an amazing tool. If you, just on its simplest basis, you get a cut, 2 days later, it's gone without you having done anything else to it. Maybe you've washed your hands, but that cut is gone. Our bodies are miraculous instruments of healing and of change. And I would love to see that this also is tapping that particular part of our toolbox, so to speak. A spice called turmeric. and omega-3s and things that are natural pain reducers. Is that something that you are encouraging? It sounds like when you said acupuncture, I knew I was kind of on the same path.
Yes, absolutely. So if you look at the bench, there's a QR code right in the middle. When people scan that QR code, it'll bring them to all those different resources. And turmeric and things that you eat absolutely can work to reduce inflammation in your body, which can cause pain. There are so many wonderful activities, even, gentle hobbies. Just keep moving every day, stretch, getting your rest, ballet. Absolutely. There are so many things that we can do to make sure that our bodies are less prone to pain, less prone to injury. And then, like I said, when that time comes that there is an injury or there is pain, try the other modalities first and then have that discussion with your doctor. So many people don't know it just takes 5 days of taking an opioid to become addicted. That's it. And so if we can do everything else before we reach that point, maybe we could save some lives. And that's really what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, well, it's the creation of the awareness that there are alternatives. And exactly, again, what is an opioid? How does it addict us? And as the bench absolutely shows us, that's not your best option for pain relief. It may look, and it wasn't terribly uncomfortable, but I'm not going to sit there for half an hour. And the whole idea, this is bright orange, and it is absolutely unmissable when you walk anywhere in this complex. Oh, what is that orange bench? And that's the point. Make the point. It probably isn't your best option, Franklin. Neither are opioids. And that's what this group is bringing to Franklin Township. Thank you so much, Paige. Anything you want to add to this?
I just, again, want to thank everyone here for partnering with Prevention Resources and really making our communities safer. That is our goal. We have been around for 50 plus years trying to do that in our state. And so to our community members, have those conversations in your household, outside, and also make sure that you're disposing of your unused, unwanted, and expired medications. DEA Take Back Day is coming up in the end of April. Go find your local RX drop box. You can dispose of your medications for free, and that really helps keep it out of the hands of people who might be misusing them.
Is there a site where somebody who wanted to have more information about your organization and how to actually activate what you've just been saying?
Absolutely. So Prevention Resources, our website is njprevent.com. So that's njprevent.com. And it's right on the bench as well.
Okay, but it's this big.
And you can also scan the QR code, and that'll bring you straight to our website.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes.
One more comment?
Yes.
The police department is a drop-off box.
Yes.
So
One
you
right
could,
over there.
right here, you can drop off any unused medications that are
Okay. In the police station?
in the police station, any solid
There's a big
dosage.
box.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. So Franklin is committed to making this a real example of what's out there and why you should look at it very, very carefully. And wrapping this discussion up is Dr. Alex Karazi, who is one of our newest town council people and the liaison to have made all of this happen for Franklin Township. Tell us about your involvement, Dr. Karazi.
Well, let me first thank. Okay, thank you. Well, good afternoon, Franklin. First, I want to thank Franklin Reporter and Advocate for putting this together. You heard from great partners here. So this actually about a couple of months ago when we were talking, actually it was in my first meeting as a council liaison in the Advisory Board of Health. And Dr. Lisi brought up this opioid issue. And then we kind of talked about it, and she mentioned about a bench. And then we followed up with our township manager to see if there's a way we can bring that bench and put it here for to increase the awareness of the community. And within a couple of months, everything happened. So we thank you for the partners. This is really amazing teamwork. All three of the ladies that they spoke before me, they really made it happen. So I want to thank all of you. I also want to thank the Franklin Township community. This is a community that we wanted to make sure that you stay safe. We want to make sure that you live longer. And we don't want to see that you, God forbid, have a drug overdose and suddenly die and leave your family behind you. So it's an opportunity for all of us to come and learn about this. And believe it or not, I was just reading some statistics. Over 3.7 million patients are prescribed with opioid, and almost 9%, over 9% of them, they become addicted. So it's a real issue, and there are ways that, as you heard before, that pain can go away without being an addictive problem and also possibly killing you. So again, thank you everybody. Thank you partners, and I'm glad to be part of this discussion.
Well, we're happy to have you, and thank you for rounding this all up.
Thank you.
We just want to once again remind you, tell us again the date and the subject matter of your presentation on the 30th.
So I will be speaking here at the Senior Center on DeMott, and we'll be talking about opiate awareness and safe alternatives to opioids and pain management.
Okay.
It's going to be 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock here at the Community Senior Center. Right. Do not miss this, Franklin. This is an education, and our responsibility as Franklinites is to always be aware.
Thank you.
We thank you for tuning in. This is PJ Parker, Franklin reporter and advocate, thanking these wonderful people for bringing this to all of our attention, and we'll be back.